Well, let me get that fixed. And as Nines would say, when our DM says, and we're back, right? Anyway, you have to watch the stream of the D&D campaign in order to catch that. But yes, it's Friday morning, more or less at 10, and it's time once again for relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons. And who is asking for it? Yeah, everybody should do that, right? When the camera comes on, just go, because, startle reflex and all of that. I'm going to flip this toothpick. You can see there's one side that has no black mark on it and another side that kind of does. So that landed marked side up. Okay, 50-50. It's almost like it's random. Nope, 3 out of 4. Oh, on the edge, on its side. What do you do when that happens and it lands on its side and it's not either up or down? It's like a coin, flipping a coin and having it land on its edge or something. Yes, so I'm going to be continuing to work on these Power Ranger Dragonkin. Got the bronze one done. Okay. That one came out kind of nice. It's all nice and shiny. Kind of looks like I knew what I was doing. And then I got the blue one. And, it's blue. There's that to be said for it. All right. And then I'm working on the red one. I'll be finishing the red one soon today. There's not much I need to do. I need to paint its toenails. I'd forgotten to do that. It doesn't have little horns like the other two did. It has this frill. And so I was given advice by Nicole, who's an artist, that I should attempt to highlight the ridges on the frill just so it stands out. So I'm going to try to do that without messing it up. Paint the toenails and then paint the base. And then the red one with the pink trim. You might, if you watched a couple of episodes ago, I tried, I think it was last Friday, I tried to paint the armor pink with red piping, but no, that wasn't really working. So I painted the armor red, but I did keep the pink. I promised I would do that. So this is red stop, green go. Red stop means I'm going to finish with the red one. Okay. That's what red stop means. I'm going to finish with the red one. And then green go means I'm going to start making this one green. And I could have, gone through the color chart and picked out colors and stuff. Before the stream started, I'm trying to adjust this camera, but there we go, kind of. I could have done that, but then I wouldn't be able to waste a whole lot of time not painting if I had gone ahead and just picked the colors. So you get to watch me kind of like flip through my color chart things here to find out what colors are green, but I'm not going to worry about the green one yet because I have to finish the red one, because that's what red stop means, is that I'm going to finish the red. Yeah, I'm wearing these trifocals. Take these off so I can see up close a little bit better. I'll probably have to put my head magnifiers on in order to get this frill highlighted. So I was wondering, what color should I make it? Oh dear. There's always something, right? So if you look carefully here, right there at the end of the tail, there's a spot that never got painted. When I put the red speed paint on. Oh my. Like I said, there's always something. So I'm going to have to get this bottle out, shake it well, and then touch that up when I do touching up of stuff. So these are tiny little ridges on the frill on the top, and I'm going to paint them kind of an orangey red. It's called amaranth, and maybe there is, but you know, it's Friday morning and I'm not coming up with anything. After I went on Wednesday about You Edit, I mean, it's like that, like all the creativity just sort of drained. And that's probably why I've got like sinus congestion today. It's that all that creativity just sort of melted and is blocking my sinuses. But there's probably a story reason, but if I can't come up with one in like the next 5 minutes or so, the only solution is to touch it up with some paint. Okay, I don't know why I'm starting with this, because this actually requires detail painting, but I am going to take Nicole's advice and I'm going to attempt to keep this on camera and get a little bitty brush of some sort. I got some new ones of these. Brand new ones that have bristles, because I tore the bristles up on the other one. So let's see if I can highlight the spines on the frill. At least it didn't drop in the paint. Is this how Friday is going to go? My head magnifier isn't magnifying in the right spot. That's any indication of how this detailed highlighting is going to go. This could be quite a day. Well, it's going to require some touching up. And we'll see how this amaranth looks. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. I'm going to say that however it turned out was how it was intended to look. Yeah, it does look better. I mean, you can actually see that it's there, and the color combination's not too bad. And I stayed on camera. That was a shock. I'm not kidding. It just was. Clean this brush without tearing the bristles up immediately. Okay, I've got the blood red here. I'm just going to touch up the tail real quickly and then paint the toenails and then do the base. The tail, I'm going to use one of these others that might be a little less of a problem if I tear it up later. So, and don't end up with just the discolored spot. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? So far, I painted tiny little stripes on its head. Oh, you know what I really should do? Yeah, I think I will actually. I'm going to try this. That amaranth color. What I really should do is got these little spikes back here. Is I should like just touch. Make you be proud of me. Look, I'm doing highlighting, kind of. That's sort of more or less the effect I was going for. And I haven't messed it up, so yay. Yeah, I did that. No, yeah, I just started drinking this coffee, and sometimes in the morning it's really yeah, it's essential. It's like, on the other hand, there's always the fact that it wakes you up and then you go, oh no, what have I done? I woke up. Okay, there's that. So I have to be careful about that. Yeah, I should put this guy up here. I'll need that when I paint the base. And I'm going to use the same dark gray that I used for the blue one. I wonder if these... Usually, you know, when I'm painting these minifigs, as I've said before, Dice and Dungeons is a D&D campaign. A group of people doing a D&D campaign, and the whole painting stream started because of the production of dungeon tiles on these printers behind me. Okay. Those show up. Usually when the dungeon tiles show up in the D&D campaign, it means that we're about to be mostly dead. Almost always, not always, sometimes it's just a puzzle, but it's almost always some sort of combat. And almost always some sort of combat my character, Ulseth Ralph the Furbolg Fighter, lately, since we leveled up, when we were level 1 and level 2, except for the time when our Tabaxi Bard decided it would be great fun to try to drown themselves in Zoria. Oh yeah, just a miscalculation of not knowing the difference between feet and yards, being able to convert one to the other. Now, if we've been using the metric system, you know, if that teleportation spell was done in meters, because you got, you know, meters and kilometers, kilometers, that probably wouldn't have happened. But because they're using kind of this imperial system that we insist on using in the States, yeah, there's yards and feet, and I think this thing like teleports something like, is it 500 feet or something, and the distance to the little boat that they were trying to reach was 300 meters, and you know, 300 is smaller than 500, so what could possibly go wrong? So they ended up in the ocean and kept failing their swim checks. I think that was actually the closest that the two of them, either the closest or the second closest that the two of them came to dying. Finally, the DM decided that it was so early in the campaign, the characters are kind of fun, that she didn't want them to die by just stupidly drowning. So a rescue boat came. You know, it's kind of like old adventure series, like the Batman thing. I don't know. My character was just swimming. Would have, you know, swimming had to go, what? 300 yards? 10 yards per turn. Yeah, probably would have drowned. No, Nines is never ever going to live that down. No, D&D is not a spin-off of the painting. The painting is a spin-off of the D&D. Come on. I know that. I know that that's true because the D&D came first. because we started playing the D&D campaign before we had, the only thing we had that was, still reaction from all the smoke and junk in the air, I guess. I killed us. Feet and yards was, anyway, yeah, it almost killed us all. And it was supposed to be funny. Okay, it was like, oh, this funny thing happened. Nines couldn't tell the difference between feet and yards, and so teleported out into like 300 feet away from this boat that he was trying to take Zoria to, and then it just stopped being funny because all of the saving throws just were bad. They were all like 2s and 1s and 4s and stuff. And then Ulsith Ralph started yelling directions about how to save yourself, which made no sense at all, because Ulsith Ralph grew up in a forest, and the only water really were some lakes around. And so wouldn't have known about drown proofing. So it's like, you can use your cloak as a lifesaver. Just whip it up and capture air under it. Make a big bubble out of it, and it will hold you up. And I think the DM didn't allow that. It was like, your character wouldn't know that. Your character would not know to do that. So the excuse was that I was too far away and they couldn't understand what I was saying, and they just thought I was waving my arms around and stuff. But yeah, that was quite a thing, that event. No, and Nines is never going to live that down. Nines, that, what do we? Yeah, I know that. I mean, it's not that big a deal to think that if you use your clothes to make antimatter arrows, I wonder if Bulwin has those. Yeah. My character isn't necessarily low int, but is kind of naive, having just grown up in the forest, kind of alone, with only this half crazy elf order of Remarden kind of person to provide instruction. So, get very good at, well, you wouldn't know that from the effectiveness of my weapon yielding, but supposedly got really very good at using swords and daggers, but that's another story. Sometimes what happens is that what should be the ability of the character, just in terms of the story, the way they were taught, the kinds of things they learned, that kind of thing. Those kinds of things get lost when one rolls the dice. When there's no number on the D20 that's higher than a 5, you would think, like, why would someone make a D20 that just went from 1 to 5 like 4 times? I don't know. But that appears to be frequent, with some frequency, the kind of D20 wielded by my character. So this proficiency, in using the weapons. Anyway, something something that should be true to the character just doesn't happen in the game. I do make a good target, though. Okay. And that gives Nines and Zoria time to do crowd control, which I know crowd control battles aren't the most exciting, but they are an essential part of Midnight Brunch's approach to combat is crowd control, because without that, we would have been dead several times. So we have to thank the druid and the bard for saving our butt frequently. It is fun though when Nines pulls out their rapier, and it's a real rapier, not an exceptional rapier, but it's not the stage prop that Nines started with. The real rapier is not terribly much more effective than the stage prop was, but occasionally the combat does actually permit that to occur. The speed paint continues to be highly soluble in the acrylic that comes in after it. It just melts and bleeds through. It's not an altogether bad thing, it's just at the base. Okay, and so if the base kind of reflects the color of the Dragonkin, I guess that's okay, it doesn't much matter. But it's just something I need to be aware of, when I'm painting the rest of it, especially doing touch-up later, that the touching up is not going to work that well, because the touching up dissolves the speed paint. You can see it there. Well, you really did something crazy once already with Dimension Door. I think the next time you do something crazy with Dimension Door, I think what we'll do is we'll just take a long rest and wait, rather than try to rescue you. So, oh yeah, the red especially. You didn't see it too much with the blue because it was really close in color to the gray. But the red bleeds through, it dissolves and bleeds through in a real significant way. So I'm going to let this dry a little bit, and I'm going to consider that a primer coat. I really need to. And then come back and repaint it with the gray again, because even after I put the black wash on it, it's going to show through. So this is going to take twice as long as I thought it would, because the speed paint dissolved in the gray Tamiya paint, leaving red splotches all around its feet and tail. So after I'm done doing this again, that is painting gray over the gray, the red gray, that, okay. After I'm done with that, we're going to explore the green color chart. Railguns, yeah. The problem with railguns in the D&D campaign is that they're big. I suppose that they would fit in the bag of holding. I suppose we could put a railgun in the bag of holding. I don't know how awkward it would be to... it would just take like a bonus action, right? Just like equipping any weapon takes either an action or a bonus action. Could do that with the railgun. Why not? Hi, old Brogger. Thanks for joining in on Friday. How is your... Let's see, where you are, it's evening. I hope your Friday evening is going well. I am trying to finish up what is the red Dragonkin. And as you can see, I abandoned the pink armor in favor of red armor, but I used pink for the highlighting. That's not too late. Yeah, it's what, 10:30 here, so 6 hours. Well, it's the same as in Germany. So what I did, I don't know if you can see it or not, Nikki talked me into doing some highlighting with a different contrast color up here in the frill. So I did that, and I think it came out okay. You know, you can see it now. And I actually went and touched up the points of the little spines on the side, which is pretty subtle, but it's there. Even the frill on the bottom. And I'm just painting the base now. And once again, discovering that the speed paints dissolve in the paint, in the acrylics. And so I'm just waiting for it to dry enough to put on a second coat. And then I'll let that dry a little bit, and then I'll use the dark gray just, to splotch it around like I have on the other bases, just to, give it a little variation. And then I'm going to go on to this person, this Dragonkin, and this one is going to be the green Dragonkin. I need to pick out I'm going to do the skin color in a speed paint, so I'm going to test that to see what color it looks like, actually. And then go to my color chart and pick out two colors, one for the armor and one for the trim, that will complement and not too highly contrast with the green of the skin. So I'm not sure what those will be yet. That's one of those things where, I could have done that. This one's got like a hangnail. It's weird. The toe is sticking up in a little point. Get rid of that. I'm not sure why it's there, but it looked really odd, and now it's gone. Well, it's not gone. It's stuck here. There. It's like a piece of lint. Had a linty toe. Yeah, so I'm just touching up around here, covering up the red that had bled through. So I could have, but I didn't. Pick the colors for the green one off stream, but I do other things when I'm not streaming. And this Not Studio, the workshop, was being used yesterday. Our DM Alexis was doing repairs on the 3D printers, 2 of the 3. It needed some parts replaced. So she was down here most of yesterday afternoon, working right back there. And if I'd been down here doing something like, looking through color charts or whatever, I would have just been in the way. So I had an excuse. I won't say that I was motivated by being polite. I was motivated by having an excuse to not go through the color charts yesterday and having to do them on the relaxing, not painting, but selecting paint colors with Dice and Dragons today. Now, what I'm kind of tempted to do, it would probably be wrong, it would probably be a bad idea, is to look around enough to see that I entirely missed a spot under the tail there when I painted the gray earlier. Another reason to rotate your work over and over and over again, because there's always a spot being missed. Yeah. And there was one. And if you look at it from the front, it would have been really obvious. Which means, obvious if we just ever use these on our stream. Yeah, I don't know. I guess some Dragonkin can be kind of flamboyant. I mean, like this blue one, the armor color, the turquoise, is a really nice color. And azure, which is almost a little bluish purple, it looks okay. It doesn't look like too outlandish, but this is not understated. I'll just put it that way. I'm not sure how the green one's going to turn out. Depending on how I haven't used the green speed paint. Orc skin, it's green. I haven't used that, so I'm not sure what color it's going to be, but what I'd like to do, if it's possible, is have the trim be a darker color compared to the armor, so that the armor would be lighter than the trim. This one almost turned out that way when the base armor was pink and I tried the red for the trim around it. Not only was the pink really kind of out, really just glaring, but the darker red trim looked about the same color as the skin. There was really not too much difference between the two. You can see that back here, like on the tail. There is a difference in the color between the armor and the skin color, but it's not very much, and so the trim bit wasn't working. Oh. Okay, this is what happens when you rotate your work. You turn it around and you go, oh, look at that. There's a whole piece there, a chunk on the shoulder that's very obvious that needs to be pink. And so what does one do? One never finishes the red Dragonkin because there's a flaw. Let's see, can we get a ray effect going? Let's see if I can get one going. There we go. Yeah, so I need to touch that up, and I actually need to put these on in order to see what I'm doing. Well, this is okay. I mean, what it's doing is it's giving time for that gray to dry, so I can just get right on with putting the wash on it. After I do this dot of pink, I got 2 new ones of these because the one I was using before, I managed to wear out the bristles or break them off, or I don't know what I did, but it doesn't have bristles anymore. Right there. And I will declare that was good enough. Sometimes I really, really don't like putting these on because then I can see all ragged, uneven edges. Wow, that's weird. That belt buckle. I can't remember what color I used. I think I used bronze, but for some reason under the light, when I'm looking at it, it's like this fluorescent green. And weird. Wow. It must be the combination of that against the red. Not. Yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing all sorts of little spots that aren't perfect, but we're not going for perfection here. We're not even going for good, we're going for adequate. And I'll keep reminding everybody who watches the stream that adequately, doing things adequately is the watchword for relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons when I am doing this. If Nicole is doing it, adequately isn't good enough. You got to be good. But that's adequately done. Okay, now I'm going to blot. Just sort of blot some dark gray wash onto the base so that it doesn't look quite so monochromatic. And I'll find it. This is almost empty. So I'm thinking that one of the other things I can do after I use this now, since it is almost empty, and as such, the pigment to solvent ratio is kind of unpredictable. Yeah, I got bubbles, just big bubbles of whatever it is. This is just fine for this job, but if it's being used, if this were being used for even just like trying to do some texture on a wall or something, it becomes unpredictable. Okay, when it gets down near the bottom of the bottle like that. So I'm going to take advantage of yet another opportunity to not do painting, to avoid relaxing painting, by finding a new bottle. And this is the real exciting part. There's this little ball bearing in there. We bought like a packet of 100 of these, 50 or something, I don't know, a whole bunch of them. A whole lot of little ball bearings that I put into all the bottles and jars and things to help stir up the paint, because the pigment will settle, especially if you don't use it for a while. And use them all up, so what? We just reuse them, which means getting it out of there and into the new bottle. That'll be fun. That'll be an opportunity to like spray dark gray wash all over the place. It might just splash up or something. That'll be cool. So, I just put way too much in the well here because it didn't come out of the bottle, and then I finally did it, kind of gushed out. But I'm gonna let the red one dry here. Clean out this brush. Declare this done. It's used up. And use that as an excuse to actually get up and stretch a little bit. Stiff back today. And as soon as this dries, the red stop, which means stop, I'm done, red stop will be accomplished, and then I'll be moving on to green go, because this is going to be a green Dragonkin. So I'll just set it up here, do that right away. So after I get the little ball bearing out of here, yeah, I guess you could call it that. I'm going to, let's do this first. Yeah, why stick with a plan? I think that's just really kind of pointless. Why have a plan? And if you do have a plan, why stick with it? I'm going to take this green speed paint, which has not been used. It says shake well, so it's getting shaken well. And there's nothing to see except this, right? That's pretty boring. Here, I'll let you see that. That on the top of my head. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I want to see what color this is. So I'm going to just squeeze out a drop onto this piece of paper, okay, which is, kind of just white. Grab a brush, just any kind of brush. This is a brush, so it'll do. And spread it out and let it dry and see what color it is, and that will tell me then what my color options are for the armor and the trim. They're really bright green. This is going to be a very bright green dragon. That's pretty cool. That might be light enough for me to be able to do the, as I've been saying, kind of the reverse of the color schemes that I have been. So if you look at all of these guys, I can bring them back, because this is another way of wasting time, is that the trim is, even on this one, the trim is lighter than the armor color. And what I was hoping to do with one of these was to have the armor be lighter and the trim be darker. And if this, with this green the way it is, I can do a lighter green armor with a darker trim. I know, it'll be, should I do that, or should I just keep, I guess I really can't. These guys are all in the same Power Ranger team, as Nines was saying. And so I need to keep the theme the same, with the darker armor and the lighter trim. They're really, no matter how much I would like to switch that around, I know but the Green Power Ranger was really kind of maybe a little bit of an outsider, I think, if I remember correctly. And I might not remember that correctly at all, actually. But no, there's only 2 left, and the last Dragonkin is going to be the black one, and that'll be dark armor with lighter gray trim. It's just the way it's going to be. Let me test that, just to be sure. Why not? Just see how that's going to go. Grave Lord Gray is going to end up being the color. Speed paint on the black dragon. It's pretty dark. I think even after it's spread. Let me carry out my digression. My digression was retiring this bottle of wash because there's hardly anything left, and when it gets down near the bottom, the pigment to solvent ratio just gets thrown off, and it really can't be used for anything other than like splotting the base of the base thing here. So I'm going to find another one. I'll be right back. I do need to stretch my back a little bit here. Here's a fresh bottle, unused. I want to move these aside, and the reason I'm moving these aside is I'm going to be retrieving the little ball bearing from in here. So we're taking this off. Yeah, there's hardly anything left in there. And then taking this handy set of tweezers, which will reach down almost, but not quite. Oh my. Okay, this is a little bit of a problem. I'm going to do this. This is why not? There's just a little bit of this left in there, and there's a ball bearing, and here is a bunch of water. I'm going to dump the whole thing in here. Oh, look at that's cool. It's just like oozing around. This bottle is now going to go with the other empty bottles, and I'm told that they're going to end up somehow or other eventually becoming a prop. Very dark. Okay, well, it's swirling around really nicely and it looks like the air the last couple of days out here. I mean, the air hasn't been quite that bad, but really close to being that bad. Now I'm supposed to be able to reach down with this tweezers. Okay, and in that murky soup of not being able to see through it, I should be able to just pick out the ball bearing. But now look at, it's just become a cloud, and I can't see anything through this at all. Well, it worked in one way in that I got the ball bearing out. It didn't work in another way in that I can't see where it is. So, okay. I'm capping that up because otherwise I'll knock it over. How do I know that? Seriously? You would even ask, how would I know that? Oh, I can see it here. Oh, it was right up against the edge, and so I could see it there. And there it rolls. It's very clean, the ball bearing, because it was in the water, and it goes in. Look, there we go. And I'm going to screw this on really tight. So one one of the other things is that, you know, these have these little flip caps, right? And then you can pull that thing out. With these other Viejo paints and the speed paints, when you take the cap off, there's this nozzle that sets in there. It doesn't come out. This is all solid part of the bottle. So you can like put it on the shaker this way, the vortex spinner, right? Okay. So I thought, well, you know, with the wash, it's really important with the wash because the pigment will settle. It's very like translucent. The pigment will really settle on the bottom, and it needs to be shaken and stirred really, really well. So I thought, well, you know, doing it this way so that this was on the vortex spinning, you know, flip it over and get that done too. But what happened was that because it was spinning, it unscrewed this part, which, unlike the other bottles, releases the contents. And so if you look at my vortex mixer thing right now, you would see I got almost all, but not all of this off when it just went everywhere. It was a mess. It was not good. Once again, I think I did that on the stream, actually. It was on the stream, and it was just this black ink was just going everywhere and making a hideous mess. That's why this is not a how-to show. Okay, so there's the red one, and the red one is now done. I'd say it's done, and then I look at the base, and it's just really, why does that look so scabby? Especially right on the front where everybody would see it. So if there was oh, yeah, I need to get some, I need to exchange that for clear water. Before long. But I can take this guy. I think I can get it off. There we go. And I'm going to set these down so that they show on camera. And in only like 2.5 times the amount of time it would have taken Nicole to do these, I did 3 of them. And now there's going to be a 4th one, a green one, which right now is just sitting there, kind of colorless and lifeless. People say, "Why are you sighing all the time?" Well, you know, when you get into the over 70 demographic, you get to sigh. Doesn't really mean anything other than that's like, oh yeah, I remember I should exhale. Let's do that. That would be a good thing. These are some armor colors. Some of these greens, like flat green and deep green, there's a lot of yellow in them, so they look kind of olivey, kind of like an olive-ish color. This dark green, the dark green is actually kind of, I've used them a little bit in the past, and it's slightly glossy, little more gloss than shows up on the color chart here, my highly sophisticated color chart. And then the trim color, maybe sick green. Bring this out. You can do a highly sophisticated comparison here by holding that over to the edge of the paint. Put it on screen so you can see this highly sophisticated method of comparison. So that would be the the armor color, which would be really quite dark. And the sick green is a little yellow. I don't have too many other greens. Let's see what's available here. Oh, there's a lot of greens. But I think the light green is more consistent with the kind of trim that I was getting with the other ones. So I'm going to go with the light green, which also happens to be this color I use for the submarine. Oh, that refractive green. That's really dark. If I were to do a dark trim, I would probably do that. I'd almost use that for the armor color. Or the goblin green. Because I'm thinking this dark green is really, it's very dark. And these guys, you know, they're nice kind of bright colors. Goblin green. Okay, I'm going to just do more testing. I'm going to do more testing for two reasons. One is I want it to look okay, and the other is that when I'm sitting around doing testing of different colors, I'm not actually getting anything done on the models. And those of you who have been watching this know that that's important for me, is to actually avoid getting things done. It's the sick green. Goblin green. Goblin green missing. Goblin green. Ooh, goblin green, look at that. Goblin green has not been mixed. And that's what happens when you get a pigment separation from the rest of it. So, okay, what I'm going to be testing here, these are two contenders for the armor color. This is a contender for the trim. Is you know, I'm just going to go see how they look before I start painting. This one's going to need a huge amount of stirring, so you get to hear this buzzing. This buzzing is going to go on a good long time here. From the looks of it, a really long time. I don't think that other than when I made the color chart, I'm not sure I use this color. Yeah. So what I can do here is lean over. I'm leaning over because I have to reach to the vortex spinner thing, which is ways away. And I'm not going to bring it any closer because then I won't have any room to work. So when I did the original color chart, this paint came through as it was really uneven in terms of color. Thick green was actually one of the very first green colors that we purchased. You know, I can't remember exactly where we've used it, but I know we did because it was at one point one of only two green colors that we had. And it's actually a pretty nice color. It's not really sick at all. taking so long, but this paint has been sat on a shelf for a long time, and then it sat in our little paint holder thing for a long time, and it is just now starting to show the kind of internal consistency that we Well, let's see what happens. That has a lot of yellow in it. That's kind of disappointing. On the color chart originally, it's much better mixed now than it was before. In fact, so much so that I can say without a doubt that my color chart is wrong. I'm just going to repaint it. I am redoing the color chart because I obviously did it before this was adequately stirred, and it's a very misleading thing. Just use the black water here. We will use the black water. Thick green. You know, I'm letting you enjoy the sound of the vortex spinner thing and the background music. And I won't say, "Oh, I forgot that I should be talking" or something. I won't let on that maybe that's what happened. This has a fair amount of yellow in it as well. All the greens seem to, until you get to a turquoise. Let's find out what color it looks like when it dries. But I think this might end up being the armor color. And then this light green, I'm just going to put a tiny bit of it here. I think this will be the trim. Yeah, well, you know, I'm getting to the point here where I probably can't dither too much longer, and I'll need to actually start painting the green Dragonkin. So instead of, you know, just letting you watch paint dry, that's always a fun thing. Yeah. Need to go, you know, start doing what this show's all about, which is, no, that's not it. That's not really accurate. That isn't what this show is all about. This isn't a show. This is just a spin-off of our Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Really too bad that the dark green is so dark, you know, because I think that would make a really good armor color. This is the Viejo dark green, and what happened here is that, again, that wasn't thoroughly mixed. I'm just going to see what happens. since we're messing around with colors, right? Just do one more. This is used in the submarine to paint the authentic Navy 1960s leatherette chairs. Tiny little rice grain sized chairs. And if you were watching Wednesday, you would have seen me do that. This color, I don't know, it might actually work. This color, by the way, is the color of my character's armor. Also, Ralph's armor is this color. And the original leather armor that I got from Von Furen, who was my mentor in the Order of Remarden. I inherited their elven armor, and it was this, except it was glossy. And I want to let that dry and just see how it turns out. But it might just be possible. I might just, even though it's pretty dark, it's really a nice, rich color. And then that'll give me I can either use the light green for the trim, and that's a pretty huge contrast, or I could even use something like this as the trim. Although this would be the skin color, I think the light green would work a little better. It would be like this. I mean, the trim would just really pop out. Yeah, so it was fun experimenting with these things, but the goblin green definitely just needs to go back. That's not going to get used here. There's a slight chance that I will use the sick green as the trim as opposed to the light green, but I have given this due consideration, and I am going to go with the dark green for the armor. Just, it is, yeah. And then maybe I'll use like the sick, I've got these bags that have to hang there, I think I'll use like the sick green for the outer ones, because the theme has been for them to be kind of a lighter color. And then, so I'll keep this out. And then I'll use a really dark one, like the refractive green, which is even darker than that, for the inner pouches. But right away, I've been putting the paints away in a more or less, actually lately more than more or less, way, so that I frequently can find them, sometimes on the first, but no later than the third attempt to pull out the color. Well, I've got 45 minutes before I can take a break. I probably could take a break now, right? There's no rules about breaking. Okay, I'm gonna move these guys up and out of the way because they're done, and I don't want to destroy them or anything. So you'll notice that this sword is missing the hilt, and actually this other one is also missing the hilt. One of these I broke off, and the other one I think was just never really completely printed. So I need to fabricate hilts for these two swords. And I'll be doing that using a toothpick and sandpaper and a little file. This one is also missing part of the guard down there. And I have one that had a very misprinted sword. And this one has a piece of the guard up there. So one of the things I'll eventually be doing is I'll be intentionally breaking that off and gluing it on underneath there. I did that with the red one, actually. The bottom part of the guard is not original. That was the bottom part of that misprint that I was able to stick on there. So when I get around to doing this, I'll be trying to do the same thing. I used contact cement and that sort of worked. And then I just used paint because paint is an adhesive. How do you know it's an adhesive? Because it sticks to the stuff that you're painting. So there. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to be painting the base coat using the dark green. I decided to do that. As I am now looking at the model, I'm going to do a little extra prep work. There's a piece of molding there as part of the printing process. There's a little flaw on the front, and I will use a file to take that off. Just look around to see if there's anything else, whether I should break the blade off or break one of the guards off. Maybe I should do that just for added drama. No, I'm not. Okay. So before I start painting green, I do need to fix that little flaw. Be right back. This little needle file set with little needle files. This is one of them. I use these a lot on the submarine model because that was injection molded, and just none of the parts were right. They all had flashing that needed to be taken off. They had parts, the slots didn't. The little pegs didn't fit in the holes or the slots. Just everything needed to be modified. And in fact, if you were with us on Submarine Wednesday this week, I described the major challenge in the control room. Two major challenges. One is the tubes into which the periscopes and radio antenna slide are not the correct length. They don't fit in the gap between the two decks. And in fact, there's three of them. None of the three fit, and all three of them are different lengths. They were actually molded in different lengths, which makes no sense at all. It would only make sense if it was designed so that one of the decks, like the deck in the sail, was at a huge angle, which is not the case. So that was weird. So that needs to be test fit. I need to test fit all the parts again, which I've done a couple of times. That's how I discovered the problem, that they were the wrong length. And then I discovered they were all a different wrong length. They weren't even the same wrong length. And then I discovered that they don't line up when they're assembled into the deck, the control room deck. They don't line up, I would say, not even close. Not even close to the deck above in terms of where the periscope things come down. They're off by 1/10 of an inch, which, given the scale of this model, is a lot. So I'm going to actually have to move that deck 1/10 of an inch aft, leaving 1/10 of an inch gap on the bow end, the fore end, and 1/10 of an inch overhang on the aft. So I get to fabricate an extension for one end and saw and file off the other end. And then there's two other modifications. I need to modify the slot of one of the pieces that glue in, one of the locker pieces, so that I can move 1/10 of an inch forward. And then I need to cut off 1/10 of an inch on the aft end of the deck so that it'll fit within the bulkhead. And that's going to be, that'll happen in a while. It'll happen eventually, and it'll happen mainly on stream, I think. I'm not sure. But it's going to be a significant, I've never done that before, but I think there's pieces of sprue, the trees that the parts are on, and I think there's a lot of it. So I'll be able to just take some of that and just spend a huge amount of time filing and sanding. Now I'm going to be putting green paint on the armor, kind of up to but not over the edges where the trim is going to go. This part of it should always be easier than it is, but there's so much of it that can't be reached, like right there, okay? The gap between the shin guard and the tail. Right. Couldn't get the brush in between there, so now there's a blob of paint just hanging between the two. And I can't allow that to dry, so I'm going to get this little knife out and get in there and clear that. Yeah, because it's easy to forget that. You can see how not quickly this goes because I'm pretty slow at stuff. So probably, getting this green on will probably take us up to the break, which is fine. Because then it'll give it time to dry over break, so that I can then paint the trim. The lighter color, which will probably be light green. And it's a good idea for this color to be dry before painting another color over it. Pads here. This part here that I don't want to forget. Dogs are awake. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but that kind of stampede kind of sounded. That was one or both dogs. There's a bark. Kind of an added feature of the relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons is hearing dog sounds. Yeah, this is good. I'm glad I picked this color. It's going to look okay for the armor. It's the color I wanted, and I thought it would be too dark, and then I decided that it wasn't, so the indecision came around. This brush started out nicely, but now the bristles are splaying all over the place instead of staying nice and coherent. That. I like to use the paint in the cap, but if I'm painting large surfaces, that's fine, but otherwise it like gels up too quickly. It doesn't spread. Yeah, moving along at an incredibly slow pace here. Yep. Skill level and inability to see up close terribly well. But I'm staying on camera. I should get points for that. I'm giving myself points. Staying on camera points. As I say that, I'm probably wandering off camera. Stairs. What there is to talk about. I mean, if you're not watching relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons, that's a major fail. So if they're upstairs talking, they're not watching. They should be doing their talking in the chat channel. Just saying. Okay, so when I'm done with this little bit here, I have to wash the brush because the paint is starting to gum up on the bristles. I'm being somewhat careful of doing this. Pretty much, I don't want the paint to build up in areas where the trim is, but mostly I don't want to get it all over the... Anyway, I don't want to get it all over the skin of the mop. Because the speed paints are kind of translucent. And they'll, like with the red one, it wasn't real obvious, I think, on camera, but there were places where the pink got onto the skin. And then it showed up as a lighter area under the speed paint. There's a lot of talking going on. Major chattiness today. Oh yeah, I'm doing a really fine job of using up the time between now and break time. If this guy had a hilt, this would be one of the colors that would go on the hilt. I was using the darker colors for the pommel and for the handle. I would like paint those parts this dark green, and maybe I will, since they actually exist on this particular sword. Maybe I'll do that. And as I'm using this, I need to I'm going to need to put a drop of thinner in this. Even out of the bottle, the paint isn't flowing as smoothly as I would like. And that happens with these larger bottles, which are really good because they're a relatively inexpensive way of getting a lot of paint, which we frequently need because the dungeon tiles have a lot of surface area. And they take a fair amount of paint, so yeah, this dark green was actually purchased for a DnD special, the Christmas special. There was a Christmas painting special where they did Christmas tree ornaments. You know, ornaments designed for a Christmas tree, but they actually were trees. They were like shaped like pine trees. And this dark green was a really good color for that. But when it's been open for a bit, you know, the bottle opens, the solvent evaporates, and then the whole consistency of the paint thickens. And when it's thicker, it doesn't spread as easily, and it builds up on the brush. So I probably should do that now, but I'm not going to because that would be the right thing to do. You know, if this, and I keep saying this is not a how-to show, so we're not going to do what I should do, which is thin the paint now. And I'm just going to keep using it and complain about it until I'm done with the base coat of the armor. And then I will get some thinner into it and give it a good shaking. I said this with the red one too, and I didn't feel the same way with the bronze, especially the bronze and the blue, but it's like, wow, there's a lot of surface area on this armor. It feels like I've been painting forever. And there's still more spots that need to be painted. Painting green on the armor. It's only sort of boring, but it is sort of boring, but it needs to be done because otherwise the armor won't be green. I think this is a good color for the armor. It will work well with either of the two colors that I choose to use for the trim, either light green or the sick green. And whichever one isn't the trim color will be one of the bag colors. It's a pretty dark color, and the paint is pretty viscous. So what can sometimes happen with the viscous paint like this is that when it dries, it will pull away from itself because it kind of shrinks when it dries, and you'll get spots where the paint pulls away from the surface it's applied to. So before I start painting the trim, after break, clean the gummy paint off the brush here. Before I paint the trim, I'm going to go around it again, maybe even with my head magnifiers on, and make sure that there aren't like uncovered spots. This color it's going okay. It's not as dark as I feared it would be, and it's not as glossy as it sometimes appears to be, at least on this surface. So yeah, this is a good green Dragonkin armor paint color. Hard to reach spots. And almost certainly there are spots that are not hard to reach. They're obvious that just got missed, right? Like up here on the shoulder, under the sword. This has got one of those little cloth collars around it. I've run into those before, and I painted it just kind of a dark gray color. Because it's not really any, it's just there. And that kind of worked. I might paint that. In this case, I might paint it the refractive green, the same really dark color. I'm going to paint these little bags. I think that would look okay. I don't want to paint it the trim color because it's not trim. That would be, it isn't what it is. Just looking for places that have been missed, especially underneath there. And the edges are pretty ragged because that's where the trim goes. And then that's always a little challenge, is getting the trim on. There's fine brush work and a steady hand and the head magnifiers. And so far I've pulled it off on 3 of them. But it's never the easiest thing in the world to make it look not terrible. Okay, I think I'm done messing with this. If there's touch-up to do, there will be touch-up anyway after I do the trim part, because, there just always is. The trim color will go, the line will be too wide, or it'll be in the wrong place or something. So I'll come back with the bitty brush and do lots of little touch-up bits with this dark green. But I think I've got it think I've got the base coat done okay. Let that just sit in the dark water there, and I am going to get some thinner. I'll follow. Thanks for joining in so late. I'm going to give you a flip just before break, but first I need to thin this dark green paint. Like we're scientific measurement of the amount of thinner. I have no idea if that's too much or too little, but it needs some because it's really getting too thick in the bottle. I haven't used it very much except for little bitty chairs. Why is this not working? There isn't that much paint built up on the cap. Really, really sticky. So with that now, I don't want to just like have a jar of green paint everywhere, which would be happening if I messed around with it too much. Okay, so as we're watching paint dry, I'll put my glasses back on here for a second. I'll do a flip for a follow. Came in late, but you know, it showed up anyway. So in appreciation for that, I will flip. I'm going to do something dangerous and flip this needle file. Flip it end over end, like that. And I can also flip it by rotating it, like that. And rotate it away from me and toward me. And the thing is with this, you can't tell how it lands, so there. So as we're watching this paint dry, I'll set it there so you can watch it. This is Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. Dice and Dungeons is a group of family and friends who get together and play Dungeons and Dragons, and that's how this all started with our D&D campaign, which streams with a live chat on Sundays, 3 Sundays a month. Check your social media to see what the schedule is. Probably, I can't be sure, but I'm guessing it might be skipped this Sunday because of the holiday. Sometimes we don't stream it on a holiday because people are out doing something, and even though Sunday isn't the holiday, it's 2 days before the holiday, everybody's going to be going out and doing things outside, assuming the air quality is okay and there's not a thunderstorm. But that aside, okay, just checking. Yes, so we started that well over a year ago, and the campaign is ongoing, and it is hilarious and wonderful and fun, and yeah, it is really a good campaign and a good stream. Sometimes we spend the whole time talking about food. Sometimes we go to magic shops, and that's always an adventure because we could spend hours and hours, you know, looking through the discount bin, magic items, and asking for discounts and negotiating and having a good time doing that. Once we went to a bakery, that was good too. We bought some really good croissants. Yeah, so yeah, that's how that started, and it started out like a lot of D&D things do. Just had this plastic mat with a 1x1 inch grid that we played on, and we got some minifigs to represent ourselves, and those were the first things that we painted. Those are still around, the original level 1 minifigs. And then got a 3D printer. Alexis got a 3D printer and started printing things, including dungeon tiles. And it started out with simple stuff. We made some tents and a couple of crates and some pillars and walls and things, and experimented with how they were all glued together and connected and stuff like that. And it just got more and more sophisticated all the time. And now I'll do the demonstration now because I've got 10 minutes before my regular break time. We now do, this was a rough stone that hasn't been washed yet, so it's not shaded. But now we've got these that are done in one solid piece. Originally, the wall was like cemented on or epoxied onto the base, and the base was actually kind of like two pieces. But now this is all printed as one so that the wall doesn't sag or break off or anything. It's very, very sturdy. And underneath here, under this plate, are ball magnets. And so these are magnetized, not in a way that requires a metallic base, okay, but they're around the edges so that they stick to each other and not to the base. And so one can connect them and they stay connected, okay? But then you can rearrange them very quickly. Anyway, in many configurations. So we've got rough stone, cut stone, and my favorites, even though they take longer to paint, are the wooden ones with stucco walls. And I like those the most because they look really, really nice. I don't think we have any that show up underneath me on the little crawl, but there. So yeah. So how did relaxing painting start? Well, these things got printed out and they needed to be painted. And so Alexis said, well, why don't we... Okay. I'm sorry. I'm distracted. Somehow or other, a little bit of the pearlescent blue paint got on one of the dungeon tiles. Weird. I probably did that because, careful. Anyway, if you're going to be painting them, why don't we stream the painting? Just get a little ring camera thing like this, which is cheap, and used another camera to aim at me and a microphone. We had an extra one around from streaming the DnD campaign, and so that's how relaxing painting got started, which is primarily minifigs or dungeon tiles that we use in our D&D campaign. And maybe someday, there's one. That one's pretty good. That's like a flame magic thing. That cauldron in the middle actually has a little magnet in it, and a flame goes in. And then there's a necromancy layer that shows up on the crawl as well. Anyway, someday these might even be available for people who would really like made in, hand painted, printed locally. Very local because it's right behind me, dungeon tiles, but these are really cool. And that's how relaxing painting got started, because of dungeon tiles and minifigs for the stream, and maybe eventually more broadly than that. And Submarine Wednesday started because one day on a Wednesday I didn't have any minifigs or dungeon tiles to paint, and so I was given permission to work on the kind of models that I built when I was a kid. And one of those originally was a big Ed Daddy Roth. Ed Big Daddy Roth, that's how it is. Fink Eliminator model, which none of you probably remember from the 60s because you weren't around then, or even the reproductions that came out in the 90s because you weren't paying attention to those kinds of things unless you had built them originally in the 60s. Anyway, I did one of those, and nobody really liked it very much, even though I thought it was pretty fun because, it came out really cool. I mean, I did a really nice job, much better than I did when I was like a freshman in high school or whatever. I made the first one. And now I'm working on a submarine, which is a 1960s vintage Renoir cutaway Polaris missile launching nuclear sub. I'm working from 3 separate kits because I need 3 of them to find enough parts to make one. Those are actually original vintage, and that's coming along extremely slowly because the parts don't work and because the detail in the painting is extremely small. Let's just say that it makes these little bags here. Those are large compared to the detail in the submarine. Anyway, I built that submarine when I was like in 7th or 8th grade, and I'm sure I did not paint it that way. I didn't paint the detail because I didn't have the brushes or the paints, and just wanted to put the model together. Anyway, I'm working on that on Wednesdays, and it's moving along very slowly as I very painstakingly get the parts to fit together, which is harder than one would want with what was probably at once a very expensive or even original price model. And yeah, that's how that's working. So on Wednesdays, probably for the next forever, I'll be working on that. And earlier in this stream, I talked about some of the challenges that I am encountering in the control room, which is, those challenges are significant and are going to require what will be a good deal of model manipulation. Sorry, there's just too much green paint on the sword here. Model manipulation and fabrication in order to get the thing to work. But next Wednesday, I'm just painting some of the detail on the control panels and the bulkheads and things, and not working on the fabrication yet. Okay, well, I managed to fill the time by talking about what Dice and Dungeons is all about and why we have relaxing painting on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from more or less 10 until more or less 2. And I will be back after break, and the next step on this will be to paint. I'll just show you the blue ones. You can see how that works. All the little trim around the shin guards and the knee guards and whatever that is, the cod piece and the front of the armor and that kind of thing. Yep, doing that, and then painting the belt, the bags, getting those painted. And I'm not going to finish this today, just not at the pace I work, that's for sure. I might get the trim done. I might even be able to get the bags and the collar done. We'll see. But the trim is a little bit of a challenge because it's like fine lines with a fine brush. And anyway, it's not that easy for some people at some age to do. But that's what I'll be doing after the break, is I'll be painting the trim and then possibly getting onto the collar and the bags. And it'll be pretty close to being done, except for the sword, which needs a hilt. See, that's missing. So I'll be back in, I always say 25 minutes, and it's always 35 minutes. So yeah, I'll be back in an amount of time. And I'll be resuming. Probably, it looks like I'm going to use the light green, the 6th green. Yeah, I'm going to use the light green, and then the trim will just really show more than it should. But so far, the blue and the pink and the red are not subtly colored. They're not subtly painted, so why should I change now? Yep, there's that. I'll be back in a bit. Hopefully you will rejoin. See you later, right after break. I had to do that for who? What? Yeah. So break eventually ended. It always does. Yeah. So the next thing to do here after break is try to make some room. Take the needle file that I had before and put it where I won't remember where it is. So next time I need it, it's not there. And yeah, that's a pretty nice color. Yeah, there's little spots that are, I don't know if they're still damp or what. It's just where the paint is a little thicker. So it looks uneven, but, either that'll dry nicely or it won't. And if it isn't, well, then that's the way it is. So the question then is what color to paint the trim. And I was planning to use this light green, which would contrast pretty brightly with it. And the alternative is this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to test both of them. There's no better way to use up the time on relaxing painting than spend a good deal of time messing around with alternative colors on something that, when you really come down to it, just doesn't matter at all. I'm going to spend some time on something that just doesn't matter one way or the other, but you know, why not? Why not do that just to see how it goes? What I'm concerned about is that the light green, now that I painted the armor the dark green, is going to be way too bright. And although the other one has kind of yellowish in it, it might look better. So I'm going to put on my head magnifiers and pick something to test these two different trim colors. What shall I test? I think I'm going to test the armband, because it's fairly easy to reach. I think it's fairly, we'll see. So I'm going to paint the bottom of this armband here one color, then the top the other color, and we'll see which one looks better. Yeah, I don't have to go all the way around. I'm just testing it. So there's one test. Let's test color 1. And then there's test color 2. It's interesting when they're wet, you don't really see too much difference between them. You know, when you look at the color chart, there's a huge difference between the two of them, right? But when they're sitting there on the test, there isn't that much difference. Very odd. Well, I'm going to let those dry, because maybe the color difference will be a little more obvious when they're dried. I'm not sure. And then I'll pick one color or the other. I'm not going to go so far as to start, experimenting with yet even more colors. Let's see, while I'm waiting for that to dry. Yeah, it's really interesting that there isn't that big a difference. Really odd. That's not what I expected. But right now I'm going to say that the one on the top, is slightly better than the one on the bottom. I think it matches better. So it's going to be that way. But while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to do this. This is the refractive green. This is a very dark green color. Oh, let's see. And I'm going to paint these two bags and the belt and the collar. There's a little fabric collar here. This very dark green. Now I'm just doing this while I'm waiting for the test colors to dry, so that I can complete the test with dry paint. I'm just very carefully trying to get the paint down into places I can't really reach. But the second part of the stream, it's like almost every time, I can't say it's every time, but almost every time I come back down here, I'll just snuff on it. It doesn't so much happen during the first part, but then, it seems to get, I don't know, I get a little more chilled, I get some snuffling. I think I have an allergy condition. I'm allergic to coming back after break. Say that that's what it is. So you're just going to have to, live with it, just as I am. Too bad. It's pretty olive color, but I mean, it looks, I'm not saying it's pretty. I mean, it's more of an olive color than I would like, but it's supposed to dry to be a very much darker color, which I am hoping is the case. Because that's the intent. It is to have it just be a very dark green. It's the color that showed up on my color chart anyway.
No, let's check to see who wins the color contest. That one, the top one. There isn't much difference, but it is a better color for this. So this is going to be the trim color, and get it mixed up and put it in here and start the arduous process of painting all of the little trim stuff. Start with a little bit, and I can always put out more if we need it. Start at the bottom, I guess. Need to start somewhere. There's one of those spots I talked about. It didn't get covered. It just looks like it never even got touched by the dark green paint down in the back there. These are some of those I talked about earlier. You can't reach them. You can sort of see them, but can't really reach them kind of places. Sorts of. Some more spots on this one in the back there that didn't get green paint on it. The dark green base color got up too far in the leg. That's going to show later underneath the speed paint. But there's not much that can be done about that unless I put a little bit of gray paint on it later. And I might just kind of a big spot, and it's going to show. Oh my. Well, yeah, I just had the brush totally wrong and was bracing it against one direction and moved it in the other. And that's the kind of thing that, you're doing okay, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoosh, that went just in exactly the wrong place. but the dark green should cover that okay, and I've got enough places that require touch-up anyway, where it's just like just one more spot. It's just a little disappointing because it was kind of going okay until it wasn't even the brush that slipped, it was the model itself that I was holding that slipped. What I discovered with the red one is that if this lighter trim color gets too much on the skin, like there, but especially up here, with the translucent speed paint, it shows rather badly, and so I'm probably going to touch that up with a little bit of the neutral gray, which is close to the primer color. So that because it's in a pretty obvious spot, it's likely to show pretty badly. Well, this color combination at least is working out, I think. I did that the last time and come at it from the side. It's not exactly down the middle. A little uneven there, but I'll touch that up with the little dots of green paint later, which hopefully after I have put a little thinner in it, will flow a little better than it was before. I'm doing this, talk about being in the center, right? Yeah, I probably will. I'll do my best to fix that when I comes back to that. Yeah, it's probably way too broad. Let's see how it looks when it's done. I need to clean off the paint that's starting to build up in the bristle. Well, yeah, I can read that, and it's center. Yeah. Lance. Okay. You paid what, 10,000 points so that you could name it Lance. Okay. It is Lance. You did earn that right. You named one of these others before too, didn't you? Be doing some dark green touch up and some gray touch up after I finish painting these little stripes on this thing. Just to make them look, like that, trying to fix these things so that they don't look awful. As I said before, I've been kind of surprised at how much surface area there was when I was painting the base color of the armor. And then every time I start painting the trim, I have to say I'm always surprised at how much trim there is. And there just is. There's a lot of it. But that's what makes these Dragonkins just so beautiful when they're done, right? And spectacular. in their color coordinated armor with complementary colored trim. I've been pretty lucky in that when I've gone back over with the main armor color, I only needed to do touching up in one direction. That is to say, after painting the trim, I only needed to do touching up with the main armor color, and I haven't too often. There's sometimes, you saw that before, where the paint just gets on someplace where it shouldn't be. I had to come back with the trim color, but that happens. This paint is starting to gum up here. Yeah, let me put that on. You can see me dipping into a little dot of paint. That's pretty exciting. So if this guy's Lance, I think for that many viewing points, you should be able to name all of them So have you named the rest? Do you have names that you would like for the other ones? The red and the blue and the... Oh, there's another spot back there that never got painted. When I painted the base armor color, I wasn't wearing these, and I'm seeing all sorts of major flaws, meaning places that never even got painted. Brush at a good angle for this. Just have to do my best and then deal with the touch-up later. Get the touch-up paint in there. I'm not going to remember these names, but the green one, for those of you who do care to remember, the green one is now named Lance. Who has been given permission to name the other ones too, if they want to. They should all have names, not just be anonymous Dragonkin things. Yeah. Managed to get it on there too far. Okay, now we're going to paint this stripe down the center. And what have I painted like Y's across the top, right? The edge here. That would be okay. I got the knees and the shins, the arms, shoulders. There's these little bits in the back here. The loops on the belt that I'm not bothering to paint. The belt I'm not bothering to paint. The loops I'm painting. Okay, so except for the fairly large amount of touch-up that I need to do on this, looks like I got the trim painted at least. But yeah, there's a fair amount of touching up to do. And I need to pick a color for those other bags. Need to do that sooner than later. I was going to use the light green, but I think that might be... I don't know, why not? I'm sure I don't really have too many other green color options that aren't really similar to what I've already used. I could do flat green. I could just use the goblin green that I rejected earlier. Yeah. It probably feels really rejected, so with rejection by using it. Green. Green. That's the sound of a delivery. You know, sound of the dogs guarding the house in the delivery. Hopefully that's under control. That was some pretty serious guarding. There. It down, so either the delivery is over. Hopefully that's the case. Hopefully that's why it's quiet. And still some movement. It appears that everybody survived that delivery. Pretty raucous, though. Wow. Not hearing any calls for help, but the volume in terms of take a break a minute and see what's going on. It sounds like laughter. I'm hoping that's good. Kind of disconcerting. That was just a lot of... Oh, wow. Yeah, there's more green touch up there. I have a lot of the dark green touching up to do. This would be the color I would usually paint the belts. So it is to say the belt is usually the color of the outer bag. So I'll just keep that convention going. And then the belt buckle gets painted some sort of metallic. Probably in this case I'll do like a dark brass. Not a bright brass. It's easy for me to say, but just a regular brass. And that'll go well with the green. Okay, so this is pretty close to being done. Hopefully you can kind of see the colors. I think the colors work pretty well. I mean, done in terms of the armor. I have a lot of dark green touching up to do to just fix. There's lots of places that need to be fixed. And then some light gray touching up where the green trim got onto the skin, and that's going to show pretty significantly when I paint it with the speed paint. So I'm going to wash the brush here, and things quieted down. No one's screaming, so that's good. Post-break sniffles are pretty significant today. Okay, now I did put some thinner in the dark green paint a bit earlier, which means that it should flow a little better when I do the touch-up here. So we'll find out. We just managed to rotate pretty nicely here. Whatever. Now we will see how this ever so slightly diluted, thinned paint works. Since I've got this paint out, I will use it to, might as well see if I can paint the guard on the sword at the same time, but we'll just start here with the touch up. Whoa. Okay, that was exciting in not a good way. Thing just slipped out of my hand and flying, almost knocking over the paintball. It's really disappointing to not see a paint bottle go flying across, spilling everywhere. That would have been a real bonus to definitely not relaxing. Getting the knee pads here. Doesn't look too bad now. It looks better than it did. Did. I'm just going to remind everybody that what we're going for here is adequately. Trying to make sure that everything is painted adequately, not beautifully, not perfectly, but adequately. Kind of like for B+ work. That's what I aim for on these when I'm doing them, is getting them to B+ quality. Hers always does like A true quality stuff. Provides these helpful hints like, oh, why don't you, if you took this color and you just dry brushed it right across here, and I go, no, just stop. Okay, I've tried that before, and it really would look good if I used the pearlescent paints and I just dry brushed it across the top of the scales. It would look awesome. But no, I can't. I am not capable of making that happen. I would just end up with blobs, because I tried that once before. Following the advice, I tried to dry brush across the top of the scales because there's a scale pattern in the Dragonkin skin, and all I did was end up with blobs. I created blobs of pearlescent paint that had to be then painted over. Just get a little paint on the brush and then brush it until it's almost all gone. That's why it's called dry brushing. Yes, you can do that. I don't mean like you can do that if you're talking about it. I mean you can do that. I can't do that. These things end up with a level of, let's just say that they are missing a level of shading, detailing, that it would be better if they had it, but they're not going to because I can't make it happen. So they end up the way they end up, because that's, you do what you can do. Limits and stick to them. It's not really a great thing, but what I really mean to say is don't make a mess of things if you can avoid making a mess of things. Going for is messes that are avoidable. I'm just painting the guard on the sword here because the tradition that I have created is that they are painted the color of, the guard is painted the color of the main armor, and then the hilt, except for the pommel, neither of which exist on this because it broke off, is painted the trim color. So when this guy finally gets the pommel on the sword, which will happen when I get around to fabricating one, actually two, because there's another sword that's missing one. When I get around to fabricating them, we painted the trim color, which I will keep out so that I remember what color I used. Keep working our way around. As we need to do the touch-up. We got painted. Let's put that's not painted, or if it's just shiny because it's wet. It looks like it wasn't painted. Okay, let me just go around this one more time. So there, just a little bit up here. It needs to be evened out. Still not very good here. Down at the bottom of the knee, It's not going to be able to improve that. Or go around here. I'm achieving adequately here. I am reaching adequateness in terms of the painting of this guy. Just stop, and then I have some light gray touching up to do on the part that will be speed painted, because where this has gotten on it, it shows through the translucent paint. I'm just going to use this neutral gray color and just touch up those spots where the lighter green got on too far. Like there's one here, right up here, that's going to show pretty significantly underneath the speed paint. So this isn't the same as the primer, but it's really close in color. Close enough so that you won't see a contrast. And there's just some spots like that in places that will show. Those are the only ones I'm really trying to get. They're really obvious places. You worry too much about the darker colors. That'll just look like some of the shading that you get with the speed paint. But it's the lighter colors that make the most obvious bleed through. Where'd the sword blade go? No, seriously, there was a sword here. And now it's not there. When did I snap that off? It was there when I was painting these. Oh my God. Weird. It's not a trivial piece. It's like an inch long. And that's gray. I should be able to find that. That is really odd. I don't remember even touching it. And now I look up. And there's a sword there. Okay, I'm going to take these off a second and just go, what the hell? Sorry about that, saying how, you know, G-rated stream and all, but a piece that big have snapped off without me noticing and landed somewhere without me knowing where it is. Did that happen when I like bumped this and semi-knocked it over? Did it bump into something? Wow, I am just really annoyed. I am extremely annoyed at the moment that somehow I bumped it, maybe just bumped it a tiny bit somewhere, and I snapped the blade off, and now the blade, using some alcohol here to get the paint off the base of the bristles. You know, and again, it's one of those things, the sword blade is literally an inch long and 1/8 of an inch wide. It's like that. It's that big. And you would think that that would be really easy to see. To do is it's going to give a quick look down on the floor. Sorry, I just need, this is really shocking that it's snapped off and it's missing. Yeah, it fell over again. When it fell over like that, that is almost certainly, remember I knocked it over? That's what snapped it off. But I mean, snapping off is one thing. Completely disappearing is an altogether different thing. No, I don't need the sword blade to do the rest of it. But I need the sword blade to finish the sword. I don't want to have to manufacture one. I thought that was it, but it's not. Okay, I'm going to have to find it later. It's just, I have no clue how something like that could possibly disappear. That's just a terrible thing. Yeah, I knocked that over. I remember doing that. I bumped it, knocked it over, and it snapped off, and it must have gone somewhere over there, I'm thinking. But I'll have to look for it later. I'm going to get some brass paint out and paint the belt buckle and the clasps on the bags. And then I've got plenty of time left, unfortunately. I'm going to speed paint the rest of it. And hopefully that will turn out pretty well. And I can finish this at the next stream. I should have checked, and I didn't. I don't know if I'm going to be doing this on Monday or not, because that's the day it's the day before a holiday. So I may or may not be doing this on Monday. Should have checked with my bosses upstairs, and I didn't during break. Well, it was a failure of fun. So it was one thing to knock this over. Unfortunately, that resulted in the sword blade popping off. How did I even touch that? But weird is that I can't find it. Like I said, it's like an inch long and a quarter of an inch, eighth of an inch wide. It's a big thing. Could go missing. I mean, granted, there's all sorts of things on the workbench that would have kept it from flying, but it's not under anywhere. Now, what I managed to do is somehow touch grass paint to that spot there. Nice, huh? So I need to get this dark green out again and touch that to the touch that I just touched. One thing about the rosin, at least the stuff that's where we're using, is that it's very brittle. I've noticed that as I managed to break some things. Okay, now the speed paint needs to go into a whole lot of little nooks and crannies. So I need to use a brush with a fairly fine point. It's okay. I think I modified one. Yeah, this one might be better. I'm going to try this. In some places it needs to go over a big surface like the tail. In other places it needs to go into like just these little bits of nooks and crannies and things. It's just, these are a little bit of a challenge. But it says shake well, so I'm going to give this a good shaking. And then we're going to turn this Dragonkin green. And then after the stream, I'm just going to go over like every square centimeter every square millimeter of the workbench and the area under it to try to find that sword blade. It should be just like laying right out here, right? Yeah. No idea how I managed to mess that up. Well, I know that I knocked it over. I did a fine job of knocking it over, that's for sure. But I didn't realize immediately that the sword had broken off, and I don't know where it went. Okay. I'll just start here. Start in a place and work around, I guess. But these are just ridiculously hard to reach. At least for me. Okay, so there's one green leg. This isn't really how speed paints are supposed to go, but given the tiny little tolerances and nooks and crannies and things, it is how they do on these. To the hands. One is the darker pigments that are embedded in this to puddle up in the crevices, like the space between the fingers, that kind of thing. And it's got the scaly dragon skin texture, and we want it to show that off. Yeah, I'm going silent again here. That's just all part of having to pay attention to, can't pay attention to two things at once, apparently. So I'm not going to try, because that would be hard. Okay, get the other hand here. The hand that's holding the sword of shame. Knocking this over, breaking it, not noticing it, and losing an entire sword blade. Pretty well there on the hand, that's good. We'll start doing the head here. There's all sorts of little spikies, lots of big spikies that need to be covered. I'll try to do a little highlighting with these spikes later. I'll try anyway. It's the kind of thing that Nikki would say, what you really should do is try some highlighting on these spikes. And I'll say, oh sure, what could possibly go wrong other than everything? There's this big chunk up there on the sword that needs to be filed off somehow without breaking yet even more of it. Heavy up here. I wanted to get into the indentations there. Yeah, I need to do some little highlighting, probably with a darker paint. Some of those. Puddle up in here. And what's left? I got the feet and the tail. So let's go ahead and do the feet. Paint the toenails later. I'm going to use the kind of really a bone white. It's kind of like an ivory with a brown wash on these claws, like I did with the metallic one. Instead of the dark gray, which is what I used on the blue and the red. Getting washed down on the base there. You know, we'll find out again when I paint the gray that it dissolves it, so there's going to be green running into gray. I'll have to do two coats like I have in the past, but that's not a big deal. heavy but even coat on the tail because I wanted to pick up the scale pattern that is built into the print. And to make sure I get down one of these I had not gotten, like the bottom of the tail. That was a mistake that I needed to fix later. Sort of surprisingly right here, that was another area that I missed a couple of ones before. Okay, I think that's picking up the scale pattern pretty well. It's kind of nice. Yeah, the trim color, I didn't think it would be that close to the color of the Dragonkin skin. It is really quite close. But not identical, so it does show up, but it's, this whole thing is darker. Kind of just darker than some of the others. I guess that's fine when you're talking about Lance, the green Dragonkin. I'm just going to check to make sure that I didn't miss any big spots, or small spots even. Insides of arms, insides of hands, sometimes around the edges. Yeah. Okay. So let that soak a little bit. Pretty close to wrapping up time. And I'll put these on and just go over what needs to be done yet. Some little things like the toe claws need to be painted. I'm going to paint those. I don't know, that dark gray, since this is so dark. I might go with a dark gray kind of theme. I'm going to try to do a little bit of highlighting on some of these points. Maybe lighter green. I might just use like the green I used for the trim, which is close, or maybe even the really light green just to pick up the points of these spikes on its head. I need to find the sword, and I need to fabricate a hilt. So there's a good deal of work to be done on the weapon. I need to find the sword blade, and I need to fabricate a hilt, because the hilt was never here. And I will do that between now and the next stream, because you don't need to watch me fumbling all over the workbench and shelf and floor and wherever else I could possibly look to see if I could find that sword blade. And this is going to be turned, this toothpick is going to be turned into, see these hilts with the pommel? I need to make 2 of those. So I'll be basically doing a little bit of sanding and filing, good deal of sanding and filing, to make a couple of those to replace the one on here and the one on the other one. And this one is going to be the black Dragonkin. Needs a hilt, and it also needs part of a guard that I'm going to borrow from a misprint. I noticed as I was painting this that there is a protuberance on the top of this sword that needs to be filed off, so I'll be doing that as well. So there's a bunch of little junk, just a whole lot of little annoying stuff that needs to be done to finish this up, and most of it has to do with things that were broken. So between now and then, hopefully that will be done. Hopefully I won't be turning toothpicks like this into sword blades. You never know.
This has been pretty, for the most part, relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons. I did finish the red one, including some highlighting on the frill on the top. You can see that there's a little contrast color up there, and getting the base and the toenails done. So that one's done. I got 3 of them done. This one is like 90% done, and it would be close to being done, especially if I can find the part that's missing. So either on Monday or next Friday. And again, I don't know if I'll be streaming this on Monday or not. I don't know that. Hopefully get posted on social media. If not, I'll be back with Submarine Wednesday next week, Wednesday. We'll continue to work on the control room challenges. And this will be finished a week from today. That gives me an entire week to find a sword blade and fabricate 2 pommels. Yeah, I don't know what you'll be doing. If you're in the States, we celebrate 4th of July as a holiday. I don't know what you'll be doing then, but I know what I'll be doing is I'll be sanding and filing a toothpick into pommels, and maybe sanding and filing a toothpick into a sword. We'll find out. So, if you are a new follower, thank you very much. If you are going to be a subscriber and a new one and an ongoing one, thank you very, very much. And if you care to, you can go to patreon.com/diceanddungeons and become a patron. And that would be really, really amazing. You can support us. Be sure to catch our D&D campaign 3 Sundays a month with live chat at 2. Also available on YouTube and as a podcast. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Thank you all. And those of you who are celebrating a holiday, there's probably a very long weekend now because, why go into work one day on Monday, right? Those of you who get the time off, enjoy it. Those of you who don't, I hope you get to make up that time off some other time. Those of you who are not in the States and celebrating that holiday, have a good weekend. And we'll see you Wednesday and Friday for sure next week. Monday, maybe, I don't know. So, yeah, thanks again. And see you next time. Bye.